Well, hello everyone, and a warm welcome to our Finance and Accounting Tech Spotlight today. These spotlights are designed to save you time as you take a deeper dive into evaluating all your tech solutions. Today's Tech Spotlight, one platform, total control. Unite HCM Finance and IT is brought to you by Paylocity, fueling the future of work in today's exclusive session sponsor. My name is Kristen Todd with the CFO Leadership Council, and I'll be facilitating today. Just a few important housekeeping items before we dig in. Your lines are muted. However, we do encourage all of your questions and reactions. Type your questions here in the dashboard, and our expert panelists will address them today during the Q&A portion. Let our guest experts know you're out there as well. Make sure you use those reaction tools throughout today's session and answer that one poll that we're bringing you earlier. These tech solutions are meant to help you in your tech exploration. CPEs are not offered today. And I'm sure you've heard our dates for FATE 2026 are set. We are back in New York City at the Javits Center on November 18th through the 19th, and we'll be joined by ABC Shark, Barbara Corcoran. Lock in those lowest rates for your FATE Expo Pass today. Addressing your tech stack can be overwhelming. We know this, and we are here for you. Our Finance and Accounting Tech Briefing is a tremendous resource. It's a weekly e-newsletter packed with insights. It arrives right in your inbox. It has all the hot trending tech topics. The section, What's in Your Tech Stack, is my personal favorite. Visit our site and subscribe. Speaking of hot topics, let's shift gears to the big reason we've gathered today. A warm welcome to our amazing guest speakers today from Paylocity, Erez Swissa, Matt Doyle, and Art Mifsud. Gentlemen, the floor is all yours.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. So today we're going to go through an exciting case study of the Paylocity full HR, CIO, and CFO solution in one platform with total control that unites all of those workflows and operations. I'm Erez Swissa, Director of Solution Consulting on the finance side of the house here at Paylocity. And joining me today is also Art Mifsud, our Director of Solutions Consulting, who specializes on the HCM and IT side, as well as Matt Doyle, our Senior Manager of Client Advocacy, who's going to walk us through a case study in a little bit, and then we'll end with a demo of the platform. So to kick us off, we thought we'd start with a poll for everybody to get that interaction and engagement going, because this is some exciting stuff. The question being, how many systems do you use for spend management, which includes accounts payable, expense management, corporate cards, HCM for your headcount management and payroll, et cetera, and asset management combined? Cool. So as the polls are coming in, we're seeing a lot of folks hitting the 2 to 3 or even the 4 to 5, not many singular platform responses, which is pretty much why we went and architected the system we have. And yeah, that can be challenging with a lot of different siloed data, siloed work streams, and bifurcated systems. Just give it a few more minutes to see if everybody can come in here on the poll. Cool. Nice. So we landed with 74% with 2 to 3 systems and 16% to 4 to 5. Very interesting. We see that a lot in market with our customers, which is why a lot of folks choose our technology. Because of the common challenges that you'll see exhibited through this case study, I'm going to pass it to Matt to walk us through.
Thank you. No, I'm excited to talk through it. I mean, I sit on our marketing team here at Paylocity and have the privilege of talking with our clients really on a daily basis to learn their stories. And so today we're excited to start with CloudBolt's story. And so CloudBolt is a client of ours. They're using our Paylocity for Finance and Paylocity HR and Payroll suite. And so we're going to kind of walk through a little bit of their challenges that they were facing as they were growing exponentially, and then how they were able to kind of tie in their HR, payroll, and finance teams to, deliver that ROI and simplify into a unified platform. So CloudBolt, just a little bit about the company. They were founded back in 2012. They're really kind of an unsung hero in the cloud computing world. They, think about, all the different global enterprises out there who are pouring money into public and private clouds. Think about that CloudBolt steps in with automation, optimization tools to really help those companies monitor consumption in the cloud, measure return on investment, and hopefully control and lock down the costs that they have associated with it. And so essentially think of it when we talk to this client, they're a financial advisor for their cloud infrastructure, so to speak. And so their goal is to help drive that innovation and support the cost controls, as we mentioned. So they were experiencing double-digit revenue growth year over year, and they were scaling to support clients all across the world. But they also were trying to keep a lean team, right? That's a common thread among a lot of our clients and clients in general out there. But the challenge that they ran into is that they were trying to control cost for their clients, but on their HR and finance teams and the operations side, they were kind of feeling that strain of growth. They were growing so fast. They were trying to look at how do we unify a platform in order to optimize our own internal processes. So if we want to take a look at some of the challenges that they faced as a client when they were considering this, on the next slide, we start to outline some of that. And so getting into that, Cloudboat was booming. They, were running into, several different issues. We'll touch on that in a moment. But if you look at some of the challenges day to day, many companies that we talk to, or just in general, they're lacking visibility into total company spend. So about 97% of them. 70% are saying that there's really manual or inefficient accounts payable. That's really a number one concern. That might resonate with you if you're listening in right now. 40% of that accounts payable work is still manual, paper-based, and essentially slow. And then the average cost to manually process a single invoice around $30. So when you combine all that together, you're running into some real inefficiencies and slowdowns on the internal processes. So if we go to the next slide and take a look at some of the pain points for Cloudbolt, again, think about a small company that is trying to grow fast, adding clients. They were booming. They had new hires coming in. The expenses were spiking, but the back office had multiple tools. And it kind of goes right into what we're talking about with the poll from earlier. Picture this, you have your HR team juggling multiple systems for recruiting, onboarding, learning management. Finance team is small with 3 people chasing credit card receipts. That was almost like a full-time job for one of their team members, manually posting that data into spreadsheets. I know that this makes people cringe probably out there hearing some of this, but it's something that is the reality for a lot of folks. Their HR team, though, they had policies and procedures and handbooks and schedules that were all living in SharePoints. But again, the amount of questions coming in to those folks was bogging them down from focusing on the growth plans or hiring or strategic initiatives on the finance side of the house. And so they didn't really have that integrated visibility to help optimize those costs. If you're looking at the screen here, the manual process really caused bottlenecks. You think of the credit card reconciliations were done manually. That likely is leading to errors. Errors are probably inevitable. The gaps in visibility, another big time issue with the real-time visibility. They didn't have that with their previous platforms, and so they did not have the cost controls that they wanted. Time consuming, accounts payable, and the vendor management, that was eating up valuable time that they were looking to focus on strategic growth initiatives. Disconnected systems, more complexity, more silos that are created, not on purpose, but it's just kind of the way of the world when you have multiple systems that don't necessarily connect. So the HR system not connecting with the finance system, causing potential issues. And then likely one of the challenges is also on the growth. So in a high growth environment where they're trying to grow quickly, not having that automation is going to potentially stunt that or cause stressors for the back office folks and be kind of a drain on their time. So these challenges highlight, why they need an unified platform for that automation to help with workflows, provide that real-time insight so they can use those insights to make decisions on it. So moving on to the solution that they were able to move towards on the next slide, we talk a little bit about that. How did they change it? So they partnered with Paylocity, looking at the unified platform. And so again, thinking of it all building off of the employee record. So an employee-centric system that bridges HR, payroll, and finance. So trying to eliminate those silos, all grounded again in that one employee record that is created from the day somebody is recruited, onboarded into the company, and synced up with general ledger. So taking a look at it, some of the things that they were able to optimize with Paylocity in this unified platform, expense management. So AI-driven expense management, reimbursements, these were much faster, but also more accurate. It eliminated many of those manual checks and balances, reducing the errors, and then freeing up the time. Just imagine that person in finance chasing down people, sending emails, asking for receipts. Maybe they're sending them a message in the internal communication system asking for, hey, we don't have this receipt for an expense report. Things get delayed, very, very slow. But moving away from that, they're able to automate most of that. Credit card, corporate card. So syncing those transactions right into their ERP system. No more chasing of those receipts, not manually matching them up. That accountability was really, really important through this growth mode. And it also, helped to reduce the nagging emails, right? I mean, that's not something that somebody wants to be doing in their day job. Data insights, certainly one of the most important things, whether it's in finance or in HR, integrating dashboards that provided visibility to the HR team, finance team, and the operations. That allowed them to make more informed decisions. So they were able to see data across. There's no more silos. They're able to connect that data, and they're not relying on somebody's report that they're sharing and then trying to combine things together. It was all in one spot, and they're able to have that visibility and move that transaction data right into their Sage ERP system. Also mentioning that platform connected right into the ERP system. So that ensured that the financial data that they have was up to date and accurate, and meaning faster closes, fewer surprises for the team. The unified HR system also, big part of it, recruiting, onboarding, payroll. Earlier, we alluded to the multiple systems that they had for recruiting and then onboarding and learning. Well, that's all in one spot now. So you imagine somebody joins the company, they're able to onboard, they roll right into payroll, and then they can be assigned some of their learning management tasks right away in one platform. Reduces that manual work, but also creates a better overall employee experience for the employees, for the administrators, and supports that growth. So you can onboard employees, get them up to speed and working quicker on the HR side. So again, thinking of how it all connects through that employee record. And the self-service policies and training, alluding to earlier with the HR team having various documentation living in SharePoint or shared files. Employees are able to access that information all in one spot. So they're able to find their training assignments. They're able to submit their expenses and do all that within one area. Their VP of Finance, Sandy Burns, had told us that having everything in one platform was really, really nice. She also said that just helped to streamline the approval process. You don't want those things held up or slowed down because somebody's doing it in paper. Paylocity helped them make this move much, much faster. Moving on to the next part of this, some of the results. We want to talk about that. I mean, I think that's a key part of it, but we've talked about the one platform as well. And so this is one that we love to highlight, kind of that unified platform. You can see the employee record being the centralized piece of it, because when you think of it, you create that record when somebody joins the company, and then it kind of rolls through all the different modules within Paylocity, whether it's on kind of the HCM side, in the finance side, and then ultimately as well on some of the IT products that we have to provide clients with access or identity management or asset management. Think of computers or phones, things like that. So this is kind of the viewpoint, and we'll touch on that a little bit later throughout the demonstration. But if we move to the results, again, single system of record. That is certainly one that, going back to the poll that started this, we didn't have many people saying everything is in one spot. So that's ultimately the goal, and the impact for CloudBolt was exponential. Honestly, they were able to slash the administrative time with this single system, by quite a bit. They didn't have any more of their manual uploads into Sage. The data was flowing in real time for them, which made Sandy's life much easier, the HR team's life much easier. They weren't juggling multiple tools, so the employee experience was much, much improved. They were able to have credit cards, approvals, expense reports all in one spot, simplifying those workflows, helping to reduce errors and allow them to, again, focus on the strategy and the growth of the company. They had visibility across departments. So silos, again, those naturally exist when companies are growing. And so having the finance leaders, the HR leaders, having full visibility into transactions across departments, there were no more blind spots. They, again, not chasing things. They were understanding that where the spending was and tracking those dollars in real time. And then the time savings through automation was a massive part of it. We, showcasing that they save 16 hours per week through just automated receipt checks. I mean, think of that time that you could allocate to something else that is more impactful for the business than chasing down credit card receipts that are crumpled up in somebody's bag or on someone's phone. So By eliminating a lot of that repetitive work for the team, the finance and HR team are able to focus on those more high value activities like planning, forecasting, employee engagement, headcount planning, which ultimately supports, the growth that they want. Not necessarily like a short-term fix, but more a way to grow with the company once you've implemented this platform. And then overall, the strong adoption and feedback. And so when we talked with CloudBolt about this story, it's one where we always talk about, well, what did your employees say? Like, was this something that they were on board with? And Sandy had told us that the user adoption was outstanding. It was something that they were the positive remarks from employees who, again, you sort of get used to going into multiple systems. And it's like, all right, maybe that's a pain. But once they realized everything was in one place, she was receiving unsolicited feedback of how positive it was, appreciating the simplicity and efficiency, which drove long-term success for their employees. Again, while keeping everything in one spot, supporting the HR team. All right, the other piece of it we wanted to talk about was some other client success. So this just goes across several other clients where we've discussed their kind of the results of they've found impact of 80% of their expense reports totally eliminated. Paylocity Finance for Finance becoming one of the most well-liked platforms because it worked, and that's really all the validation you need. 5-day month-end close, a really great piece here from Brittany talking about how they've been able to close the books much quicker. Again, not chasing things down, not having concerns as they go around certain corners to have to find things or delays at the end of the month. And then the ROI piece of it. So certainly speaking to combining and unifying a platform. So one of our clients shared how they had a 272% ROI over 3 years, which ultimately paid for itself. The system consolidation is one that we like to emphasize, and it's one that you can certainly see through this story that helped this client, help CloudBolt to really demonstrate that success. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to our true experts here on the call. So Arez is going to talk a little bit about some more of our content around day in the life of a finance leader, which hopefully will resonate with all of you on this call. So Arez, I'll pass it over to you.
Yep, thanks, Matt. Yeah, so not to harp on, we'll jump into the platform in a minute, but just in terms of like the complexity of everything you have to manage, and especially in a bifurcated world. But if we hone in just on the finance side, there's everything from annual planning, which includes both sides of the house, right? Like the key expenses of payroll, AP, and all the surround spend management as well, making sure you can forecast it, you can set budgets, you can track those budgets and report on them, and then orchestrating the workflows themselves, which you'll see through the demo of actually managing the vendors, processing AP, making sure reconciliation of cards and receipt compliance is done, looking at your headcount planning and making sure that you are retaining, but as well as hiring at a fast enough clip to keep up with the growth, like companies like CloudBolt. Ensure that there's actually engagement from your employees so that you can mitigate some of that extra workflow of having to rehire and backfill and so on and so forth, as well as things that extend even beyond that are kind of peripherals, but key parts of the work system, right? When someone joins your company, when Art joined our company, we had to make sure that he was provisioned and had a laptop that the company provides and had access to all the different systems, as well as had the ability to know where to go to manage his employee experience, manage his payroll, see any learning and development that's related to him, as well as just going and saying, I'm traveling to the home office for my onboarding boot camp. How am I going to get reimbursed for this or pay for it? So we created a system to make that completely frictionless. And obviously, like all those components speak to the challenges of finance and HR professionals, everybody who's on this call essentially. And so we wanted to bring that into one platform. So today, I'm going to show how Paylocity is not just HR and that we do everything beyond HCM, but I like harnessing back on our roots as an HCM payroll company because that really brings together the employee record. From that data, from an employee record, we created one platform that bridges not only HR, finance, but also IT. And we do this by leveraging AI across the product suite, and we drive efficiency. That single employee record is the foundation of what we do, and which allows us to drive deeper insights, provide you flexibility, and drive engagement across your organizations. So without further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen, and I'm going to jump into the platform itself to show you what I'm talking about. Cool. Can everybody see my screen? Are we good? Yes, awesome. So what you're seeing here is the experience when you sign into Paylocity, the dashboard. Something to note throughout this is that the platform itself, that adoption is really key, right? Adoption, we like to say on the finance side that we want to create a culture of compliance. And by having adoption, that's how you get that compliance, right? If people don't engage with the systems and workflows, you can't actually get full adoption and full compliance and the streamlining of everything from workflow operational to also, adherence to policy. So from what you'll see in both dashboards, from the finance perspective as well as the Paylocity Home over here, is that this is catered not only to the admin, it's also catered to obviously to the employee. So the experience is synonymous and learn it once, familiar to everybody, and everything is laid out in an easy, intuitive way. So this is the Paylocity dashboard where as an employee, I can come in, it greets me, hello, I can see all the activities, various tasks that I need to do, like this OSHA related injury training, etc. I can manage my pay, track it, etc. See my team, all from one singular view. In addition, we've obviously embedded the new buzzword in the world today is artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence really just streamlines the automation here. So as Matt kind of referred to, a lot of things living around policies in SharePoints or what have you, or employee guidebooks, or that, what are the policies that come out one time a year? Well, throughout the system, we've created these AI assistants, not only powering the actual functional tasks in the platform, but also AI assistants to help employees, right, to increase that experience. So if I, as an employee, was looking to see what our company's meal policy was, I can quickly search here and I'll get all the information around my athletic facilities, my meal policies, et cetera, and so on and so forth. So quick, easy navigation to get to the information that I need so that I can stay compliant and I have everything at my fingertips rather than having to go to multiple systems or track manual documents anywhere. Cool. Beyond that, obviously there's the HR part that CloudVault wanted, right? If you're growing very fast, you want to make sure that your employees are taken care of, not just by processing their payroll and providing them visibility here of everything in a singular instance, but you want to also make sure that they're happy because unhappy employees leads to retention or issues or just general management and health of your business. So the AI really helps consolidate all this data based off the employee record into one singular dashboard where I can track my employee engagement. I can see what's actually happening here in real time. I can go to the engagement results from any recent surveys, and I can see what's real time, how my employees are, if they're happy working at the company. I can find career opportunities for folks that might want to have progression, which is something we hear all the time in their career, how they're feeling. It'll even heat map it around topics of where there's opportunities around the different cost centers and segments in your business. So really powerful dashboards to help keep your finger on the pulse while you're doing the day-to-day operations or even the longer forecasting of what is the health of our employees at this given time. Similarly, in data insights, we can also see expected, like in retention, we could basically drill into retention and see if there's any key risks for retention and so on and so forth. What are the top risk factors and who might be experiencing those risks based on surveys as well as the cumulative data access via that employee record. So key takeaway is that by consolidating all this information in one place, you really get a dashboard view of the state of your business as it relates to the people in your business, which is really what most organizations are built on, is the people. Because every part of that people is also going to impact how we are going to manage our business and the subsequent workflows that are necessary. So, so in that same vein, if we're still going to stay on the HR side of the house, we can also look at recruiting, right? So if somebody did turn over, or just to manage the growth of our organization, even the recruiting can be managed in one dashboard as well. So if we click into this one role of the live video coordinator, we can go in here and we can see how we can manage the entire recruitment process of that role, all from one singular screen. We can track all the new applicants and their status of those applicants. We can click on one and we can even invite them to an interview, schedule an interview. So everything from one dashboard in order to even to do the operational workflow that would be required in keeping a pace of keeping our business employed, having employees come in through the door and so on and so forth. Cool. Beyond that, we also mentioned, so that was a lot of the HR use cases, and there's tons of more for managing benefits, for compensation, et cetera, actually processing payroll. All those things kind of like I would like to, like we sit on the HR house, but it doesn't stop there because we talked about one platform. So things that you would have to do with other platforms like IT management, because as I alluded to before, if Art came into the organization or at CloudBoat, they were hiring a lot of new people. They wanted to make sure that they can optimize their onboarding, not only from the hiring process and the data insights to make sure that when they are employees, they're happy and so on and so forth, and flagging any risk in their system. They also wanted to make sure that they all their employees were ready and good to go for a quick ramp, as well as in a compliant way where they can manage that effectively. So within asset management or access management, asset management being for more hardware related physical items in your organization, like granting that new computer, and access management being more for managing software seats and seeing the usage in software. You have these great dashboards and workflows where you can come in here and you can take action of assigning to employees, tracking how many assets you have, how many people are required to onboard and need access to these things. So all can be done from a singular dashboard. Lastly, the biggest side of the house in managing employees that also relates to finance explicitly is headcount planning. So within headcount planning, this is where you can really budget to your hiring trends and see the budget and how you're pacing and budget performance over time. So within here, you can see the headcount by dollar, the budget, the forecast, the variances. You can manage all that not only from a dashboard view, but also intimately in your headcount plan. You can go in here and you can actually plan changes, plan new hires, transfer seats, etc. So really giving you that full view to manage not only the people, but also the money side of the house and the cost that would incur, or the efficiencies of hiring folks and making sure you're staying on your yearly plan or your forecasted headcount plan for the year. Cool. So as I mentioned, we kind of covered employees. We also covered a lot of the peripheral financial components of payroll and HCM and having employees. But beyond that, once an employee is in seat, they're also going to need effective ways, as CloudBoat kind of said, in operationalizing their spend management, right? So rather than having to chase receipts or AP being a really, really bifurcated process, using that employee record, we've also launched our own expense and spend area. So when you click on expense and spend, it'll open up to the finance by Paylocity area. This is the dashboard that you would land on, or an employee would land on, where they can manage all those various workflows. So again, I'm demoing out of, let's say, an AP manager kind of role here, where I have access to everything. This is a modular system, so employees would only have certain access to certain things, but the same look and feel for that adoption is all right here. So when it comes to expense reports, if an employee needs to submit an expense report, we've created an AI-powered touchless expense report experience. So you can come in here, you can create an expense report, and then you can, which would look like this, where you can add receipts as well as mileage tracking to that expense report. And then artificial intelligence will automatically parse that receipt through object character recognition. It'll bring in the merchant's name, the transaction date, the correct amount, even populate the purpose from the metadata on the bill. The concept here is human in the loop. The robots do everything great for us and eliminating all that manual and a touchless experience, but you always have the ability to adjust things if they look off. It's just really trying to get ahead of it and do that for you. There's a lot of advanced feature functionality of adding attendees if it was an Uber ride, splitting expenses across different chart of accounts, and a really, really great user experience to basically put all their receipts in here, either by uploading them, taking a picture to a mobile app, or forwarding it to receipts at airbase.com from their user email that they're associated with. And it's all living here in the system, nothing else to do, and it automatically gets coded, categorized, as well as all the metadata that would be required to create an expense report here. There's compliance within the system through the AI functionality we talked about, as well as through a rules engine of building your expense policies right in here. Users in real time can be flagged if there's anything wrong with their receipt, if it's out of compliance, and so on and so forth, so they can take steps before even submitting to adjust or to add an explanation of why. We also provide, obviously, route details and mileage expenses, so all that from a singular platform where you can submit that expense report. Really streamlines not only the employee experience, but also the person who's approving these, right? They're going to get this all tidied up, compliant. There's chat features within the system here where you can chat back and forth if there's additional questions. So no chasing your email and trying to align it onto the expense report. It all happens right here in the mobile app, in email. You have full transparency of who this is going to be routed to, so the employee can track how their expense report is being approved and where it states where it is in the system, so on and so forth. Cool. And let me just, sorry about that. Apologies, technical difficulties here. Okay. Good, that worked. Sorry about that. Cool. So that would be the expense report side of one of the finance workflows that we support. Beyond that, we also talked about Cloud Bulge challenges with physical and virtual cards, reconciling those cards. So there's two types of cards that we provide in the Paylocity ecosystem, Paylocity by Finance. We provide virtual cards, which are basically P cards that can be generated. No restriction on how. There's a request. They're all pre-approved cards. A really cool use case is taking software spend, which is a lot of the recurring spend within an organization, and associating that with a singular virtual card. We call it the 1-to-1-to-1 ratio. So I've created one LinkedIn card that manages all my LinkedIn advertising spend. And the beauty of these cards is that not only is it one card for one system, I'm not restricted to how many cards I can create. I have a full audit log of any changes to this card. I also have tons of control. So I can set a different spend limit by day, by week, by month, by quarter, per year. So how much this card actually has available as a credit balance. I have automatic notifications for receipt compliance, reminding me to add receipts. I can even go as far as locking this card out if it's not receipt compliant after a certain amount of days. As soon as that receipt gets in here, it automatically unlocks. And a number of other controls as well, including category restrictions. So this is only being able to use on MCC codes that are in the advertising or business services space. So a lot of controls, so I don't have to feel bad about having cards out there because I have a lot of controls and all the visibility at all time. In real time, when these cards transact, the lines will come through here, and you can code categorize them right on the line itself. And receipts automatically get uploaded in either by manual upload by clicking here, and it'll present an upload box. If you forward the receipt to the receipt inbox, our OCR and AI will automatically look at the date, the vendor, and the amount, and automatically attach the receipt. So receipt compliance becomes a very, very simple thing. If you did create a card, like in this instance, one card for one vendor, it assumably LinkedIn books back to your general ledger the same way every time as advertising and marketing expense. You can actually automate that. So you're basically reconciling that automatically to your general ledger, in this case, Sage Intacct. Similarly, not just virtual cards, but we also do provide plastic in hand with all the same controls, which is amazing. So Dennis Whitney here has a physical card, plastic in hand, and I can manage all the same controls that I had: restrict them and spend limit. I can change this anytime I need. If holiday spending time, Dennis needs a little bit more money, we can change that temporarily or even permanently going forward by month, by day, by week, by year, etc. Same receipt compliance controls as well as merchant categorization, where he can come in as well and reconcile it right in the system itself, as well as attach his receipts. So it becomes a very seamless experience to not have to manage that receipt chasing. If you're a CPA, you didn't go to accounting school to have to police people for receipts. This system makes it very intuitive and very easy for employees to take part in that accounting workflow in the easiest possible way by leveraging technology like AI and so on and so forth. Lastly would be AP, which is probably where most of the money outside of your employee payroll that goes out the door. So we've talked to a lot of folks, and it was one of the biggest challenges for CloudVault as well. Usually this is a manual process, right? I have to take an invoice, process it to a bill, then track its payment, and so on and so forth. Airbase handles all that for you. So this is our AP inbox, where invoices come to live and get processed by OCR and AI, hence the little shiny diamonds. And when that invoice comes in here, either via vendor portal, via email, via just straight upload, it'll do a number of things. It'll parse out the invoice, any files, and if it did come over by email, you would have email body here as well. So you always have the source documentation, all processed by artificial intelligence and object character recognition. It'll match the correct vendor. It'll show you any historicals or any historical bills or any open POs, so you can associate it correctly. It'll auto match it as well if the vendor was kind enough to put the PO number on the invoice. It'll pull out all the invoice information for you. Invoice, the correct currency. We support over 200 currencies, both international payments as well as international bank connectivity. Invoice date, it'll smart enough to transpose a British bill to the US standard date as well. It also reads non-Latin script. Pull in the payment details either from the vendor profile or from what's explicitly written on the invoice itself. Transaction coding and making sure this is booked back to our general ledger accordingly. Again, leveraging OCR and AI. It reads line by line and can summarize it all into one line, or we also have multi-line level OCR where it'll parse every single line associated to the correct thing, adding memo fields, etc. You can always add amortization, tax codes for international bills, etc. So the possibilities are cover most use cases for AP automation. Again, presenting all the information, the robot has done all its work, or our technology has done. I like referring to it as robots. But it's all here for in the loop approval with all the context required for you to make sure that you're processing this correctly with automatic approval routing built in of who this needs to go through based on a number of different logical statements based on category, department, subsidiary, cost center, etc. But this is going to get routed to our team or individuals or even hierarchical roles in our organization. Once you create that, everybody gets notified for approval via email, Slack notification, in the mobile app itself and in the dashboard here. They can track the bill's life cycle and see how it's going, make comments on it, send it back, approve, deny, and then even once approved, it'll book back to Intact, open that bill for you, and then you can render payment right here in the system too, batch payments, etc., and close those bills off. So really an intuitive system from end to end to manage everything from approval to the workflow itself of processing to the actual payment and closing out the books through our seamless integrations. The last thing I'll cover before pausing, because we did cover a lot here, is also just part of the user experience, right? So part of coming into an organization and managing spend is knowing how do I go about spending in the correct way? What is our process? So we don't want people to have to think about that anymore. You can come in here, every user, and this is what we call guided procurement. It's an intake to pay workflow. So this would be the top end of the system, where if you're requesting a card or you're requesting a purchase order or just a requisition, you can come in here, leverage AI to parse out a contract, an order form, a statement of work that you might have, or just do it from scratch, where this is your intake form. Me as Justin Phillips can come in here and say, I'm looking to purchase some software, a marketing tool, because I work with Matt in our marketing department, and looking for LinkedIn spend here of $20,000 is our marketing budget for the holiday season. And when I save and continue here, the workflow we've built will intuitively route this to all the different parts of our organization that would require to approve, right? This is really boiling the ocean in this scenario of all the different approvals. It's for demonstrative purposes. It could be as simple as just a manager approval and we're done. But every single one of these forms or quote unquote milestones along this journey has customized forms that are all built in a no-code editor, AI embedded. So if I upload a document here, it's going to parse it with AI for me. And it even routes and integrates into third-party systems like Asana, so our IT team doesn't have to leave the system that they liked in order to approve a request. So really intuitive to manage that in a world where different departments are managing different workflows, bringing it all into one place, but also abstracting the complexity from a user so that they can adopt it. As all I have to do as an employee is remember that that shiny green button is where I go when I need to request spend, and the system and the workflow will guide me in a very intuitive way of how I can request that and route it to the correct people accordingly. All by combining all these things, HCM, IT management, as well as finance in one system, customers like Cloudboat really gained a level of efficiency, mitigating costs and saving them time operationally to enable their growth over time. Thank you.
Awesome. And thank you for that, Erez. As we kind of wrap up here with our last few minutes, we definitely want to tackle some questions in advance. I'll reintroduce myself here in a quick 20 seconds. Art Nifsud, director of our large enterprise solution consulting team, as well as our office of the CIO teams when it comes to integrations, single sign-on, identity management, access management, SCIM APIs, and all integrations possible. So a couple of questions we got from the chat. Thank you so much. We'll go through a few of them here with our time as I keep an eye on the clock. Kind of a combo question here. Two different questions, but I'm going to combine them into one. Can Paylocity integrate with other ERPs? We heard a few of them called out specifically. What integrations are available with Microsoft applications like Power Automate, Microsoft Lists, Sage, Intact, etc.? So what's great about Paylocity is, folks, we have the ability to integrate and play well with others. we would love for you to use all of our software, but we also understand that we also don't offer every type of software. We have a marketplace on our website that clearly lists all the solutions we work with. And when you look at different types of solutions, whether it's an API one-off configuration or it's one on our marketplace, every vendor, it takes a two-way street to be able to play nice and integrate. So we work with some ERPs where they pass time and labor, time card data into our pay engine. We have some ERPs that allow us to pass financial data, GL data, expense data, et cetera, back into the ERP. So we're happy to dive into any one-off integration. We can work with Microsoft, Azure, Active Directory, and many, many other things as we keep that answer briefly as possible. Is there a way to identify and track budgeted and approved positions within Paylocity? Absolutely. Arez did a great job highlighting what we call headcount planning. That is where you could track all of that estimated and post-payroll spend, even before jobs get posted for recruiting on job boards. If you're planning an acquisition or a 10% budget increase, what are those things? What is the base? What is the post-payroll expenditure for benefits spend, et cetera? Another question came in. How can Paylocity help build a strong HR revenue and cost reduction process for our finance teams preparing to switch? I think that is a fabulous question for our sales organization in regards to helping you. They'll work with either Arez's team, my team, or one of our counterparts here at Paylocity to help provide you with an ROI around where are you struggling today? What would you like to improve upon? And our sales team will help every step of the way for you to promote that to your leadership teams, to really make that justification of going through an implementation, not just from a cost perspective, but a time perspective of going through an implementation. Does Paylocity offer reporting and access to dashboards for things around debits to my bank account, general ledger? Yes. We have dashboards around every debit that hits your account available as part of the core payroll and tax engine, as well as reports that can go to Excel, customized reports, or even standard reports that may be more standardized in a PDF that you may get used to seeing from other providers in our space. We try to make it as simplistic as possible. Even if it's a report you're used to getting from before, we may even have those standard reports as well in a very similar format. For benefits, great question, a little off topic. We didn't talk long about benefits today, so fabulous question. Do we communicate to benefit providers, new hires, turnovers, life events? Absolutely. We have a homegrown benefit enrollment tool here at Paylocity, all the way down to our mobile app for people to enroll, including benefit decision support. If you have questions around, hey, which plan is the right plan if there's 3 different medical offerings? We're going to go through questions like, you're anticipating a new child in your household. How often do you go to the doctor? All those things to make sure we're making the proper recommendations, leveraging AI possibly. Does Paylocity do basic tax withholding and SUI filings? Absolutely. We are a global payroll provider. We process payroll in over 180 different countries. We have tax, we have consulting services as well. If you're moving into a new country, you get a tax notice. Our tax team in-house will help you, fight those claims and or research those claims and file adjustments to any tax returns you might need as well. And we have 2 more minutes to go as I keep eyeing a timer. I know we want to say goodbye at the end here, Matt, so I'll turn it over to you. 2 more quick questions. Actually, 1 more question. I have it here twice. Sorry, keeping track of all my questions. And Arez, I'm going to defer this back to you. You mentioned it, but I'll let you answer it so you can say goodbye after I'm done. Can Paylocity absorb a receipt via email and drive AI to streamline the process of having someone upload and manually key in data? So team, as I defer to Arez to close this out as it relates to the Paylocity for Finance section, thank you so much for your time. Arez, we'll let you answer this last one about email automation and turn it back over to Matt to close us out.
Yep. So 100% Paylocity can automate that via email, a lot of the receipt collection. So a number of ways. I mentioned every user does get a dedicated receipt inbox for themselves. In their receipts get scanned by OCR. So all the extracted manually inputting of who the vendor was, the amount, even the purpose of that receipt, and it's even handwritten receipts can be scanned by our AI, all get extracted for you. So no one ever has to touch that. That's what we call touchless for receipt reimbursement as well as for credit card. And it will also go the next step of actually matching those receipts to credit card transactions for you as and kind of for reimbursements, we kind of already covered that. I did see one other question real quick before passing Matt. Does the program integrate with existing card programs? Yes, Visa, MasterCard. We have direct integrations with Amex. We also have our own card as well. The details of which would be specific to you, which we're happy to have a follow-up conversation about. And I'll pass it back to Matt. And thank you everybody for your time from me.
Thank you both. We really appreciate a lot of great context there. Thanks, Art, for handling all of the questions. And we really appreciate all the questions. Great stuff to kind of dig into this. And I know we could probably keep going, but I will thank everybody for joining. We really appreciate showcasing our client and then the platform. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks all for connecting. A very special nod to the three of you, Erez, Matt, and Art, and to the entire Paylocity team for turning up the spotlight on a real solution. Remember, everyone, these sessions are just the start of a conversation, a virtual first handshake, I like to call them. Keep your discovery going, reach out with any follow-up questions, and also look for our post-event email from you all. It will include a link to the full recording and more information on Paylocity. This does conclude today's spotlight. Until next time, please stay well, stay curious, and stay connected. Let's hear a round of applause for our speakers. Thanks again, gentlemen.